In this video, we're going to discuss if you're one of the people that has a lost 401k, and if you are, how to find it. It could be worth a lot of money. Coming up next on Holy Schmidt.
Holy Schmidt!
If you are in retirement or approaching retirement, you are a prime candidate for someone who has a lost or abandoned 401k. These are from jobs long forgotten, and frankly, as you approach retirement, the 401k that existed when you were 18, 19, 20, 21, 22 didn't mean a lot to you at that point in time if you're like most people. I'm going to begin the video with some shocking statistics. As of 2021, last year, there were 24 million abandoned 401ks. These 401ks have a balance of $1.39 trillion, and they represent 20% of the $6.7 trillion of 401k balances out there in the United States. Our friends at Capitalize, who came up with this data, think that the average 401k balance from these abandoned 401k accounts is $54,000. This is an average. Some could be less, some could be a lot more. And here is how it happens. A person works at a company and leaves the 401k behind. Many of the viewers watching this video right now might have 2, 3, 4, or even 5 401ks out there, depending on how many jobs you had in your history. It would be a job that the person worked at many years ago. After all, the 401k came into existence in 1978. So any job back in the day is fair game. In fact, from 1978 onward, employers were looking for ways to shake the obligation of the defined benefit plan that existed prior to 1978 with many employers, meaning that they had to pay a specific guaranteed payment. That liability is huge, particularly if the markets aren't working in your favor as an employer. So a lot of employers jumped on this 401k option. It would be a job that was entirely unrememberable, or perhaps one that you actually hated and couldn't wait to leave. Many employees walk out of those types of places, and that is the happiest day of their life, and they want to forget everything about it. Everything. They probably didn't think much about the 401k because it was only $10 or $20 a paycheck, and back then it didn't seem like something that was a large amount of money, so they just walked away 30 or 40 years ago. So they leave the company and go to the next job. 4 or 5 jobs later, 4 or 5 401ks later, the beginning years and the beginning contributions start to look like a blur. After all, that was 40 years ago for some people. But here's the thing to remember about this. At 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, whatever the age was of the employee, they would have had to make an investment election. At that time, the strategy was, and still is, that you can take more risk and so choose equity. Later on, you can rebalance it, but in the early years, the choice would have been equity for most people of that age. Most importantly, a forgotten 401k is probably from the early years of your life. For reference, the S&P 500 was 428.9 at the beginning of 1980, and here in 2022, recently, it was at approximately 3,900. And that doesn't count reinvesting dividends, which almost all 401k plans do. So if you had a $1,000 balance in your 401k in, say, 1982, that would have grown to over $62,000 today, 40 years later. This is because the S&P 500 index had an average return of 10.9% per year over the last 40 years. Remember that $54,400 I mentioned earlier? This is how you get there. Now you stumble upon a video about this very subject and you think, I wonder if this could be me. This could be you. You fit the exact profile of the person who has a lost 401k if you're approaching retirement and you had work in your early years. Here is what you need to do. Step 1, write down every job you had that you can remember from the time you started working until today. Every single one that you can remember. It doesn't matter if you were a lifeguard at a pool or you worked construction. Write it down. Now, what if you can't remember every job that you had? No problem, you're not alone. If you're in your 50s or 60s, there are a lot of people that work jobs in their early years and they barely remember what they did. It might have been a summer job. It might have been a one-year job, something that they chose to forget as soon as they walked out of the job. The good news is our friends at Social Security can help you with this. If you pay taxes on your employment, then it will be on their site, more than likely. And if you didn't pay taxes, well, the chances are good that you worked at a job where the employer did not have a 401k plan. The website will give you detailed earnings per year, so it's a good place to start if you're looking for just a refresh. I remember, for example, that I worked at UPS unloading boxes while I went to college. And I had completely forgotten about that job until I looked at the year that I was supposed to be in college and I saw a sizable income number there. That would be a prime example of jogging the memory. And guess what? UPS would be a place that would have great benefits, including potentially a 401k. Those forgotten jobs are the most likely candidate for your forgotten 401k. Not the only candidate. If you worked a job in your early years and contributed to your 401k, you may have just forgot. Also, if you look at your schedule of earnings from the SSA and you still can't remember, the Social Security Administration has a more detailed option for $92. They will give you the names and addresses of your previous employers, all of them. If you think you might be one of the owners of those 401ks and you can't remember where you worked, this might be the best investment you've ever made. And also, frankly, you might need that information for something else. You simply go to SSA.gov/forms/SS-7050.pdf and you can download the form you need to fill out to request your work history. When you fill it out, check the box that says Itemized Statement of Earnings, $92. By the way, you can pay an extra $30 to get the results certified. There's no real advantage when you're talking about this for a 401k search, but if you need your earnings history certified for other reasons, it might be a good option for you. I'll put a link in the description to this form and also remind you at the end so that you don't forget. Also, since you're paying for it anyway, choose the year before you were eligible to work. For example, in California, I could work at age 15, so I would use the year that I turned 14 as my start year. Now, some of those companies may have gone out of business or they were acquired. That's okay. There's a way to find those 401ks as well. I'll show you how to do that at the end. Let's continue on with your work history and the companies that you worked at. The important thing to remember is that the funds don't go away even if your employer goes out of business. They're held in a separate account. But if your company is still in business or it was acquired and you know the name of the new business, write it down and write down the telephone number because you're going to do what I'm going to show you next. You're going to call the Human Resources Department of the company and say the following. My name is Jeff Schmidt and I worked at UPS from 1996 to 1998. And I believe I might have a 401k with your company. Will you please tell me who to speak to discuss this? They will either give you the name and telephone number of the person to speak with, or more than likely give you an email address or mail address for you to contact them via email or by mail. When you get this information, treat this like an adventure. Don't stop, keep going, because you could have a lot of money on the line. If they give you an address to write to, not an email, but an address to write to, and you'd like a sample letter, go to my website, holyschmidt.com/lost 401k letter. If the company was acquired by another company, start with the new company's HR department and do the exact same thing. Now, if you're unable to do any of that, you could go to the most likely suspects that would hold your 401k. This is Fidelity, T. Rowe Price, Vanguard, and Principal. These four companies hold the vast majority of 401ks out there. If you call them and tell them that you think you have a lost 401k, they'll ask you for your Social Security number and you can take it from there. Now, if none of that works, you can contact the National Registry of Unclaimed Retirement Benefits. I'll put a link in the description below. You simply give the website your information and it tells you if they have your unclaimed or abandoned 401k on file. If you think your employer rolled your 401k into an IRA after you left, check the website Free ERISA. Again, link in the description below. If that doesn't work, check the Department of Labor's Abandoned Plan database. I'll put a link in the description below for that. And also remember to check the link in the description for all of the other items that we talked about. I told you I'd remind you at the end. There's a lot happening and changing in the world right now. And finding good information, particularly information directed at the retirement community, is hard to find. If you like this video and you'd like to see more like it, please make sure you click subscribe and turn on notifications so that you get alerted the next time I post a video. I post about twice a week. This is Jeff Schmidt. Thanks for watching.